Welcome, everyone. Good to see you. Hope you're having a good week and enjoying this nice winter weather. I hesitate to call it winter, but after that blast of Arctic air, right? Now it's, I don't know what to expect these days. And that's kind of one of the things we'll cover a little bit is uncertainty as we go forward. But this particular webinar, a refresher webinar, which if you're new to this, I do this monthly. So the second Wednesday of the month at the same time, 12:30, try to keep it to 45 minutes. And so feel free to join. If you don't have the regular link going forward, let me know, but you should have gotten that either through my invite or through the LMS. So next slide, we'll talk about the new app. And if you're not familiar with this, this is a mindfulness app that is free through our EFR Beacon Health Options provider. And this is something that you can download for free. And I'm going to mute everybody, so if you have to unmute, just let me know. It's really good. I've been trying it for the past few weeks. It has live and on-demand meditations and brief classes that you can take. There's all sorts of variety of choices for length of time, but also different focuses on the different types of meditations and classes, all with a mindful-based platform in a sense. So check it out. You can either go onto that Achieve Solutions site, and you'll see at the scrolling banner on the top, there's a way to link into that, and pretty easy to download and get started. You have to create an account, but it is free. And you can also, if you need, I can send, there's a PDF that I'm happy to send out that shows you how to do that, but check it out. I think you'll like it. One of the things that it has is a medical professionals section of the website, of the app. So a whole section specific to healthcare. So might be something to check out as well. Quick reminder about EFR services. I know you probably are familiar with this, but just as again, as a reminder, program is there for these different options, work-life resources to help you find resources, the counseling and sessions that are available. You know, we've all been hearing about the mental health situation and the crisis or the demand for mental health services. You should be able to get an appointment quickly and easily through either the phone number, you can call that toll-free number, or through that web portal. And there's a new service actually called Talkspace through that. But if you do have any problems connecting or getting the service for your needs, please let me know. I can connect with the Beacon, the provider, and they can troubleshoot it and get you served. Shouldn't take long to get an appointment, but sometimes it does because of the demand on mental health services. So, but I'm happy to help smooth the way if you're running into any roadblocks. There's legal and financial services. There's that Achieve Solutions site that I mentioned before. We got a whole page of meditations on there, as well as tons and tons of other information and articles and all sorts of things. So check that out too when you get a chance. All of these are free and confidential through EFR. Kits are also available. So take a look at this. You'll see these listing of kits on that website too. So if you want to look more closely, but they will send you one of these free to your home if you're interested. So please feel free to give them a call and ask for one. So today we're talking about pausing, and I came up with this simple acronym. So the P is to pause for presence. The A is to acknowledge, allow, and accept, particularly feelings that are arising. U is to understand yourself and what you need. The S is for support. to give and receive support. In other words, don't go it alone. And the E is to examine inward, which is what we do with our meditations and mindfulness practice, but also to explore ways to have fun, explore ways to replenish yourself. And I'll go into each of these. And also the E is for looking at our expectations. So for the first one, P for presence. So just remembering to pause and to take some purposeful pauses. I'll give you some examples in just a minute. But these pauses, even if they're very brief, 1 to 3 minute pauses, can help us reset, kind of like just step back from what we're faced with. They can help us to practice, doing these quick little pauses can reinforce our practice to establish the habit of presence. I think that's one of the hardest things for most people who take the classes, is to really get into a good regular routine. So the more we do it, the better at it we get. And we establish a regular daily-ish kind of practice. The P can also stand for using some of these pauses to cultivate positivity, to turn our attention from all the stuff that's going wrong. And, it doesn't take much to be connected to that. I mean, turn the news on, for example, or the weather, or, fill in the blank. We're bombarded with negativity. Our minds are set up for negativity bias. So we really have to turn and focus on positivity in intentional ways. And that can include gratitude and other ways to be grateful for what we already have and what's positive in our lives already. And just to be turning to relaxing and mindfulness, that can be ways to make sure that we're paying more attention to those things. The P also stands for taking care of our physical health. So that's always a good cornerstone of taking care of ourselves. So making sure that we're getting enough exercise, nutrition. It's hard at this time of year, right? So, but to try to get outside into nature and take care of ourselves physically, and also making sure we're getting good sleep, but also rest. We think that, and the pause can be good for rest, but make sure that when you're taking time for rest, that you're really finding things that are restful and that really help you get that full immersion of being in a restful state. So I'm going to give you some ideas and examples of those too. So these are just some purposeful pauses. We'll start with deep breathing. I'm not going to go through all these, but while I'm talking, why don't you try some deep breathing? And one way to do that is to breathe in to the count of 4. Pause for a couple of seconds at the top of the inhale, and then breathe out to at least 6 or 7. So your out breath is longer than your in breath. Also, when you breathe in, feel that breath so that you're belly breathing. Feel in so you can feel the belly expand. And as you breathe out again, just let yourself release and relax. So try that as I'm talking. So that's deep breathing that can actually really stimulate the relaxation response. And a couple of other purposeful pauses include savoring. So when there are pleasant experiences, taking time to just let it sink in. So stopping to smell the roses, do some intentional things. What we usually do when pleasant things happen is we just kind of let them slide on by. And what we want to do is take some time to just marinate in it, savor the experience. Research has shown even 15 to 20 seconds or so of doing this can make a difference in the brain chemistry. So take at least 15 seconds. It doesn't sound like much, but taking that time to really focus in on that positive experience will help. Everyday mindfulness can include everything from washing the hands to doing the laundry and the dishes, all those regular chores that we normally do throughout the day. These are great points where we can pause, focus on what we're doing. So in other words, don't let the mind go on autopilot and swirl around with and ruminate with all the worries and concerns of the day, but just be present for that activity that you're doing, whatever it is. If it is washing the hands, just really feel the soap and the water and the smell and the temperature and all of those different kinds of things. This can give you a mindful break and can stop the mind and help you to reset and refresh. Now, the last one here is everything from music to gardening, maybe not this time of year too much, but exercise, nature, and all the things that give us a smile, babies, puppies, and kittens. I mean, whatever works for you. You probably have some things that you pause for already. And I guess all I'm really saying here is to make sure you take time for these things for yourself and to savor them. Really let them sink in, and make sure you do them. Make sure you inject these and sprinkle them throughout your day. The idea is that we are able to tap into these restful states, even when life is most challenging, when we're having one of those crazy, busy, hectic days. That's when we need it the most, right? But that's when it's hardest, I think, to tap into a peaceful pause. So the more we practice it, the better we get. When I send this out, that 90-second reset is from Jill Bolte Taylor. She's a neuroscientist, actually. She was on a podcast recently on 10% Happier, really interesting. She had a stroke about, I guess, 8-10 years ago that totally incapacitated the left side of her brain. Really interesting story. She had to relearn how to talk and walk and, do all sorts of things that we take for granted. But the 90-second reset is just simply, she makes the point that from the point of being triggered from a stressor, moving through that, the thought that you might have about it, the emotional reaction that you have, and then to the physiological response takes about 90 seconds. And so the mindful awareness of noticing that 90-second period, that gives you a chance to be aware of those thoughts, of those emotions, how you feel it in the body, maybe taking a few deep breaths, maybe doing something to bring on the relaxation response. Because essentially what that's doing is sending your body into fight or flight. So the awareness of that in that 90 seconds is how you can take control of it. So let's move on to the A of pause. And the A is to acknowledge difficult emotions. We don't usually do this. We usually try to push them away and ignore them and suppress them. So allow them, see if you can be with them. And we're going to do an exercise in a moment to give you an experience about that, and to accept things you cannot change. I don't know if you all watched the president's address last night, but there's an awful lot in there, no matter what side of the fence you're on. And unfortunately, there are sides, right? So, there's an awful lot that the president talked about. Our world is very, very uncertain, right? And it brings up a lot of difficult feelings, a lot of uncertainty. So I don't know about you, but I tend to stay away from the news. That's one way that I control it, is to, it's actually, if you think about it, it's a way to kind of repress it and not even allow it into my consciousness. But so what we're going to do with this practice is we're going to think about uncertainty a little bit and spend a little time with it. Okay, so this is just kind of a brief mindfulness exercise. So take a moment to be comfortable as you're sitting. Allow your body to be balanced and relaxed. Allow your breath to settle you and to anchor you. Take a few deep breaths if that helps. Let your body be anchored in the chair as you're sitting, so feel the contact and the chair supporting you. Feel your feet on the floor. The anchor is pretty important, especially when we think about uncertainty. So really feel into that sense of being grounded and connected. And again, feeling the breath, you can also pick a spot as you breathe to anchor yourself as well. So you might pick a spot where you most easily feel the breath. Might be at the nose or the airway, might be at the chest and the lungs, or it might be at the belly. Pick a spot where you can easily feel the breath. And this can be another place to anchor your attention. And so just doing this for a moment or so, anchoring ourselves, stabilizing our attention, feeling the breath, moving in and out. Allow yourself to rest on the waves of your breathing. And I'm going to invite you to bring to mind an uncertain situation. Could be something as simple as the weather, or perhaps something going on in your family or at work, or in the world at large, or perhaps an uncertain illness situation. So just bring that to mind, and nothing huge, all right? Try to keep it sort of more on the moderate side. And see if you can just explore it a bit with some curiosity. And as you do this, you might notice thoughts coming up and emotions surfacing. Try not to judge those. Try to just notice them kind of with a little objectiveness, if you can. So you're kind of stepping back from them. Be curious about them, but don't allow yourself to get wrapped up in them if you can. And at any point, you can reconnect with your anchor if that helps. But just explore this uncertain situation a little bit. Allow it to be there. You might even notice that you want to push it away or you want to get rid of it. Even just noticing that urge. And then you might also notice where you feel it in the body. Sometimes it might manifest itself in your breathing. Maybe your breathing's gotten a little shallow, or maybe a little tightness in the chest or the shoulders or wherever, in the jaw, the hands. Just do a quick scan and see if you can notice where you feel it. And first of all, just feel it. Just notice it, be aware of it, and continue to breathe. Maybe take a couple of deep breaths. And what you might try is breathing so that you're kind of sending the in-breath to that area. And as you breathe out, you can let that area soften and release. So try that a couple of times. Breathe into that area where you feel the tightness or tension or uncertainty. Breathe in some calmness and let it breathe out. Let it go and release it. Coming back to the anchor anytime you feel the need to. Feeling the breath, feeling the body, stabilizing your attention. And before we close, just kind of noticing what that was like. There's no right or wrong here, but just notice, what was it like to get in touch with an uncertain situation? Sort of allowing it to be there, trying to step back from it, perhaps, and just observe. And when you're ready, we can finish. You can open your eyes if they've been closed. And just curious what that was like for you. Feel free to put into the chat what your experience was. Again, there's no right or wrong, but there's no denying there's a lot of uncertainty and there's a lot of triggers for our emotions and for thoughts to go kind of like put us into monkey mind. There's a lot of ways that we can be distracted in our modern life. So, there are a lot of things that trigger us. So this is one thing that we can do to kind of help us stabilize and begin to understand ourselves. So feel free to put into the chat what that experience was like. I see one so far. Thank you. Well-timed refresher. Thank you. So the U is understand yourself, search inside yourself. That's what this is all about, right? So getting in touch with our thoughts, our emotions, our body sensations, just like what we just did. Kind of also asking yourself, what do you need? What do you need in the moment? It's a good reminder. It's a good way to kind of be in touch with, think about the body, for example. Does your body need to relax? Does it need some water? Does it need to eat? Does it need to move? What does the body need? What does your mind need, in the moment? Maybe the mind needs to stabilize. Maybe the emotions need to, just like we just did. So what do you need? It's kind of asking yourself that question throughout the day. The U can also stand for the upside of stress, remembering that the stress response can help us meet challenges. It can help us energize ourselves. It can help us in some ways. We have to kind of reframe it. We don't want to automatically think that stress is bad for us. Chronic stress, yes. Chronic stress, chronic, ongoing, very, very high levels of stress can certainly, we know that it can cause us difficulties in the body, cardiovascularly, if that's a word, in lots of ways, right? It can, but if we learn to recognize the stress triggers and be proactive about bringing on that relaxation response, we can learn to kind of interrupt that stress cycle. So the S includes that stress is not all bad. It's all in how we respond, choosing our response. But the other thing that's so important about the S is support. And the research, again, is very clear on this. One of the strongest things that we can do is give and receive support. Giving support helps us feel better about helping someone, of course. Receiving support, maybe not so easy for some of us, but receiving support, especially if it's offered, but maybe sometimes we have to ask for support. In other words, don't go it alone. I mean, it's the basis for support groups. And if you don't know, we now have peer support teams around the system. And so if there's an incident that's overwhelming or emotional, we can send out peers people, our own employees who have been trained in critical incident response. And we also do that through EFR, but now we have 2 levels. We have the peer teams. And if you're interested in those, let me know offline, send me an email. I'm happy to give you some more information on that. But we have teams at each of the organizations. So Greenwich and Bridgeport have new teams. Yale New Haven Hospital has an existing long-standing team, and Lawrence and Memorial also has an existing team. So those are there. The other part that the S stands for is social media. Being really careful with this. Social media is dangerous in some ways because it brings up that whole comparing mind. We begin to look at, other people and what they're going through. Hey, look at so-and-so, they're taking these great trips, or their life seems so perfect, right? Well, most people are not going to put up what's not going well with their lives on social media, right? But it's easy to get kind of caught up in that trap. So be very careful about your social media usage. Regulate it, monitor it, use it wisely. And then the final S is the stop, which we've talked about in previous classes. The stop is a quick breathing space technique. The S is to stop when you're stressed. T is take a deep mindful breath or two. The O is to observe how you're feeling. So in other words, observe your thoughts, your feelings, your body sensations. And this can all be done like within a minute. And then the P is then proceed with that new awareness, continuing with some mindful breathing. So that's the stop technique. So that's the S. The E can be examine your purpose. So simply, what is important to you? Reconnecting with your purpose, what's meaningful to you, what you really value in life. It also can mean exploring ways to have fun. So sometimes we let fun things go on by and we don't, take advantage of those things. Sometimes they drift out of our lives. So just making sure that you're reconnecting with having fun and joyful moments and making sure you're getting enough of those. The E also stands for expectations. And just looking at what your expectations are. And a good example of this might be if you are a parent, think about, when you first became a parent. If you go into having a new baby and becoming a parent with the expectation that your life is not going to change, you're in for a rude awakening, right? Because certainly we know having kids completely and thoroughly changes our lives. So the point being is that we go into things with realistic expectations, sort of expecting the unexpected. And I think if COVID has taught us anything at all, it's to be aware that there is this uncertainty and that things will always change. And we really cannot predict, we really cannot know what's going to happen. Yes, we can plan for things. I'm not saying not to plan, but to try to, this is, I think, again, where mindfulness helps, is that we can come back into the present moment. We can notice in the present moment what those uncertainty and those expectations that we have, what that brings up, just like that exercise we did. But we have to be careful with those expectations. So try to make your expectations realistic. So that's pause. And just to have a few more quick techniques that I'll go through, and then we'll finish with one more meditation. And 3 breaths for a pause is a great quick pause that you can try. So the first breath is a deep mindful breath. You can try this with me. So take a deep breath. Simply feel the breath slowly go in and out. Again, let the breath be your anchor. Take another deep breath and feel into the body. Again, asking yourself, what does my body need in the moment? And then the third breath is taking that deep breath. Remember to be kind to yourself. Remember to give yourself some compassion, the same as you would to a good friend or family member. Sometimes we're not so easy on ourselves. So this is a good reminder to be kind to yourself and give yourself some compassion. So that's 3 breaths for a pause. Remember to take some cat stretches throughout the day. You don't always have to sit and meditate. You can do some things to move. You can do some things to release tension through some cat stretches or gentle yoga or mindful walking even. There are lots of ways that we can bring our attention into the body, especially when our minds are full and when we have that monkey mind going on. Getting out of our head into the body can be a great way to stabilize our attention and to relax and release that tension. It's kind of like this cartoon. I know you've seen this before. I show it often, but to me, it says it all. Do you want to be the human being in this cartoon, or you want to be the dog? Our minds are great. our brains are really fantastic. They allow us to do so many things, but they also have a mind of their own. And when our monkey mind comes up and we get distracted, which is easy to do these days, we can often get full. Our minds get full of the worries and concerns, and it's easy to get lost in obsession and rumination. So all of these quick pauses, all of these mindful techniques are great ways to kind of step out of that autopilot and into this sort of dog-like way of being present, just noticing what's in front of us. So just a reminder to be mindful and not have our minds be full. All right, so trying very hard to be the dog. Thank you. Good. This is great. Thank you. You're welcome. All right, so couple of quick reminders about gratitude. Here's just some quick prompts. Remember, I said before to try to inject some positivity, a gratitude practice, jotting some things down, or maybe texting somebody, maybe having a buddy to be trade some gratitude things is a good way to do that. So maybe picking one or two of these things right now, something that makes you smile, or naming a place you love being, or your favorite music or song. Whatever it is, just remembering to focus on the positives. Another example of this is getting into the practice of taking note of 3 good things that happened during the day. So either as you're going through the day, maybe jotting, reminding yourself some pleasant thing like we talked about before. This allows you to savor it. Or at the end of the day, writing down those 3 things. When they did the study on this, they found that when people spent time for 2 weeks, a week helps, but even 2 weeks is even better, jotting down 3 good things at the end of the day, it lasted for like 3 to 6 months, this sense of well-being when we do this practice. So really very impactful. So try that. And then finally, we get to our last meditation. So the meditation we're going to do today is a combination of one I've done before called Find Your Flashlight, which helps us train our attention, but also to breathe in energy and release tension. So it kind of brings a few things together. So we, again, just take a moment to sit in a position that's upright and stable. You want to be comfortable and relaxed, but not overly relaxed, especially if you think you might fall asleep. It's about trying to maintain an alert state of mind, but being relaxed as well. Set an intention to put aside any unnecessary thoughts regarding plans, agendas, or projects. Think of this time as a gift to yourself. Everything else can wait until later. This is for you right now. All you have to do is relax and be right here. You can close your eyes if you haven't already, or lower your eyelids to have a soft gaze if that's more comfortable. And simply breathe and follow the breath. Just following the breath moving at its natural pace. Not controlling it, but tuning into the breath-related sensations. These may be the coolness of the air going in and out of your nostrils. These may be the sensations of your lungs filling up your chest, the ribs expanding, or the belly moving in and out. Choose one of these areas related to wherever you feel the breath most easily or most prominently. and pick that area to focus on and direct and maintain your focus here like a flashlight with a strong, bright beam. So that you're following your breath at this particular spot, shining the flashlight there as you breathe in and out, directly feeling the sensations of your breath. And as we continue to do this in a little bit of silence, notice whenever your flashlight has moved, and then simply move it back to the next breath. So we notice when thoughts or sensations arise that pull the flashlight off target. Could be a sudden reminder that there's something you need to do, or it might be a memory floating up, or it might even be an itch or some other body sensation. So when you notice that your flashlight has been pulled away, gently redirect it back to your breath. Nothing special to do other than this simple, gentle nudge that acts supportively to move your flashlight back. So just continuing noticing the rhythm of your breathing, being aware of the process of breathing, see if you can begin to settle back and relax into the natural flow of breathing. The pace and demands of life can build up tension and stress in the mind and body. And we can use the breath to release that tension and release stress that's accumulated. Let's begin to deepen the breathing just a little bit. So take a slightly longer in-breath, and at the top of the inhale, pause, hold for a moment, and see if you can let the breath out in a long, thin stream of air. At the bottom of the exhale, hold the breath again, and then inhale again, hold, exhale, long, thin stream of air. And do that 2 or 3 more times on your own, breathing in, holding for a moment, breathing out with a thin, long stream of air, pausing and continuing. Very good. Now, allow your breathing to return to normal. And notice the effect of breathing like this has on you. Just notice what this feels like. Now, kind of like we did before, if you notice that there's any tension or tightness in the body, you can use the energy of the breath. And you might be very relaxed right now, but if there is any tension, or for later on, if you notice tension, say in your face or in your jaw or in your shoulders, those are common areas where we feel tension. As you breathe, imagine that fresh energy of the in-breath flowing to those places where the tension is. And as you breathe out, imagine any tension draining out with the breath. This is a great in and out breath way to release the tension. Breathing in, calm and easy energy into that area of tension. Breathing out, letting the tension flow out. Breathing in peace and calm. Breathing out tension and stress. And as we begin to come to a close, you can let go of this focus on the breath. And again, just notice how you feel. And when you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes. They've been closed. Reconnect with your surroundings. Feel free to move and stretch a little bit. And maybe bring an intention to bring this quality of relaxed attentiveness to the rest of your day. So thank you for your practice. Appreciate you doing that with me. Feel free to give me some feedback in the chat on what that was like for you. And as we come to a close, just want to remind you about some resources. The EFR website has close to 30 meditations. I'm actually going to add some more on there. Again, the M-Life app is there for you. I upload these classes and other things onto the YouTube playlist. And then finally, don't forget about our phone meditations. Still doing those on a regular daily basis, Monday through Friday. So feel free to join into some of those. And again, I'll send these slides out. I'll send the meditation, rather the video link if you want to watch it again or refer to it. And thanks so much, everybody, for being with me. I see your thanks there. Rose, Jim, thank you. Magali, I think that's Sheila, Carla, thank you all. Appreciate those. Sandy, Deborah, Lauren. And hope you can join me again next month. So take good care. Thanks, Elsa and Karen. Thank you all. Tawana, thanks for joining me today. Stop the share and hope you have a great rest of your day.